Hello, I am Patricia A. Saunders, and I am a poet. The reason I decided I wanted to write is I remembered as a child growing up, majority of my relatives and siblings were gone and I was home alone, and I would amuse myself by writing in my journal and my notebooks. As a teenager, I even would write about my first love and the breakups of those first loves in my notebooks. I always put them away and I never shared them with anyone because they were my thoughts, my memories. And so I always put them there. It wasn't until later on as an adult that I realized that I love to write, and I would continue writing in my journal, good, bad, experiences from work, relationships, whatever the case may be. I just continue to write in my journal, still keeping it a secret and still keeping it to myself. Later on, as I got into my 30s, my parents obviously were much, much older. My father passed, and I started writing more poetry. I was writing about the experiences of our relationship, me being a daddy's girl, and going on long rides on Sundays with my father. And then I found myself putting them again away, never sharing it with anyone, and only going to it for recourse if I was upset or if it was a happy moment. I was going to my journals and writing. Again, never sharing it with anyone. It wasn't until in 2005 when my mother, who I love dearly and was my mentor, an ordained minister, came out to California to visit for her birthday. And I noticed that there was something different. I didn't know what it was, and I called my siblings to observe her to see if they saw what it was. And she was getting up in the middle of the night, getting dressed and wanting to get on a bus and wanting to go places that she had never traveled to before. And we couldn't understand what was going on because this was the woman who did all of her sermons in notebooks for over 30 years, was very active in the community, did everything, spoke to us on a daily basis. So her behavior seemed strange. I was an avid reader. I was always active. I always talked to my mother on a daily basis. When this hit and we got the diagnosis that she had dementia and she would never be able to live by herself, I changed. I stopped writing. I stopped reading my books. I focused on her. I became the parent and she the child. I memorized everything in regards to her medical history because at a drop of a dime, if anything was to ever happen, I wanted to be able to recite it. When my mother came and lived in California and she would have many strokes, or they told us she could never fall because she had a shunt, I found myself just starting to go to that journal and write. With my mother having the dementia and the shunt, things were changing. The person who she was living in a nine bedroom home to now living in a room and having to share the room with someone that she didn't know. Her depression in regards to knowing something was changing and me trying to assure her that everything was okay. What also was changing was myself. I knew that the corporate job that I had, I didn't enjoy it. And I didn't want to live my life in that predicament where if something was to change at a drop of a dime, would it be worth it? So I decided I was going to be self-employed. By being self-employed, I was able to dedicate myself to her. And on a daily basis, I was able to talk to her, amuse her, take her for rides, I was able to see her as a person I never knew she was. And with memorizing everything about my mother and having those times where I was seeing her as a child and not the woman that I knew her as, because when I was born, my mother was 39, so I only knew her as an older person. The things that we did was as an older person. So to see her putting on red fingernail polish, the first time I saw it, I almost crashed my car because I wasn't expecting it. But we were able to laugh, we were able to giggle. She was my best friend, she was my mentor, she was my mother. But I wanted to make sure that the time that we shared together was special. She was able to share with me things about what she remembered from her youth. It was wonderful. During the same time, though, I realized that things were happening within my body that I think if I was still working in corporate America, I wouldn't have noticed. I was finding fibroids and going to the doctor for that. I found a lump and they were thinking that I had cancer of the breast. And all of this was going on at the same time that I was trying to make sure that she was okay. It was questioning my faith in regards to how much could I handle. Lord, why me? Lord, why is this happening all at once? And what I had to realize through going through these trials and tribulations, that I was not going to be in it alone. I had siblings that were there to support me. I had friends that were there to support me. And I had my church family. But I didn't know it, not at that time. See, I didn't know at that time that I wasn't alone. While everything was going on in regards to my mother, her health was regressing, and I didn't know it because I was so focused. I wasn't seeing what I thought I was seeing. Also, when this was also going on, I was having relationships that I thought were relationships to find out that they weren't. I was selecting the wrong people at the wrong time. I was falling in love, or so I thought I was falling in love, to find out that the person wasn't available. There was also times where there were good moments. There were good vacations. There were good people that I met that came into my life. But I didn't realize it yet. What ended up happening is in 2005, I took my mother on a vacation. And I took her to Connecticut, where I'm originally from. And I was able to see her. Remember, I said she had dementia. And there was things that she couldn't even remember. But I saw her go back to the church where she used to be an associate pastor. And when she stood in the pulpit and the words flowed, and she was the same mother that I remembered, my faith was starting to flicker. I was starting to realize that there was something going on inside. As months went by, my mother had a stroke. Next thing you know, she was never going to be able to live in the convalescent home that we had her in. Her breathing was starting to change. We were thinking it was one thing, to find out it was something totally different. When I took her that Sunday to the hospital, and they told us that she would be home within a week, and the week went by, and then they told us it's only going to be 2 days. She's going to leave you. My world crashed. I was no longer going to be able to focus on her. I was no longer going to be able to pull it together and run my business. I was going to die along with her, I felt. My world was crumbling around me, or so I thought. When my mother passed on December 30th, 2006, for 5 years I wouldn't even celebrate Christmas. I wouldn't put up a tree. I wouldn't put up a decoration. The relationships that I had, I ended those because I felt that life was too short, and why should I continue being in a relationship with someone who didn't love me or care for me? I figured I was cleaning house. I also realized that by me not being able to pull it together and to snap out of my depression, how was I going to be able to provide for myself? I had to make the tough decision to sell my home. And with all of that going on, I had to reach out to friends and family and ask them, would I be able to stay with them? And the reality was that they didn't have room for me. And I didn't know if I was going to be on the streets. But I was still going to church every Sunday. No one knew what was going on. I had my crying sessions. I went up for prayer. But that faith, remember I was talking about that flicker that my mom had started up again? It was coming. She was soon leaving me. I was not going to be able to hang in there by myself. And I had to realize that someone higher power than myself was going to have to be there to lift me up. I also realized that with all of this going on, I reached back and I started pulling out the journal that I had been writing in since my 20s and my 30s. And I came upon the topic faith. And I just cried. Oh God, I just cried. And through the tears, I wrote the poem Faith. And I'm going to read just a little portion of it to you. And hopefully you'll appreciate the feeling that I had when I finished. Faith. Faith is knowing that you're going to come through the storm. Faith is knowing that you're going to believe in the unseen. Faith is knowing that when everyone else walks out and leaves you, that there is someone there. Faith is knowing when the doctor says she only has 2 days, or there is no cure, or you only are going to be able to be here for a short amount of time, that the Lord will step in, and He's the doctor of all doctors, and He will bring life back into the person and bring them back. Faith is to show you that there is control when you feel that there is none, that God has that control. Faith is knowing when everything is taken away, you can lean on Him to pull you through. Faith is seeing that everything that was taken is restored and then brings you to the next level. Faith is knowing that you're never fired, terminated, and laid off. You are only shaken, awakened, and dusted off. Faith is knowing that looking at a mustard seed, which is very small, is all that you need to move a mountain. Faith is knowing that when there is no situation that the Lord can't see me out of. Faith is knowing that I am, and that's all that matters. Where is your faith? See, I wrote that because I had to go through the storm to realize that though I didn't think I had the faith was always there since I was a child. But I had to go through that test, through that trials and tribulation to realize that I was not alone. When I thought I was going to be put on the streets or I was going to be out in a shelter, the Lord made a way that I was able to find someone from my past to lead me into my future. I didn't have to be out in the streets. The Lord restored everything that was taken. Even though I had lost one home, the Lord blessed me with another. Even though I had been laid off before from the telephone company, when I was going through this storm, someone called out of the blue. They had found my resume on a website and was offering me a job with AAA. I hadn't applied for anything. I didn't know anything, and I got the job. See, faith was knowing that even though I had health issues, there was nothing that the Lord could not help me with. I was never going to be alone. So I ended the relationship. And again, what did I do? I reached for my journal. And what happened is I ended up writing a poem called Mind, Body, and Soul. Because I realized what it was that I needed in a relationship. a real relationship. So I'm going to read Mind, Body, and Soul. I want you to love me. Stimulate my mind. Make me want you. I want to stand at the other side of the room and desire you. I want to turn around and see you watching me as I walk away. I want to play the game of cat and mouse with desire. I want to learn more about you because I love your swagger. I want to turn the lights on and watch our bodies as we mesh, making love. I want to laugh with delight as you have me on your silver platter. I want to select the red polish and sizzle as you blow each toe dry. I want to cry when you ask me to marry you. I want to say yes. I want to be yours until the end of time. Let our souls combust if you should leave before me. Because I want you, mind, body, and soul. That made me realize that all those relationships that I thought I wanted, this is what I really wanted. I didn't want someone who I wanted more. I wanted someone who wanted me more. I wanted someone who loved me for who I was. And I don't think I would have ever came to that conclusion if I didn't go through those storms, the trials and tribulations. Because remember, life is too short. So why should I play the game of maybe? Let it be something that I really want. What I also realized with going through the storms, the trials and tribulations, is I love to write. And though I was keeping everything to myself, what I remembered was, here was my mother who was active in the community. She was an ordained minister. She had wrote all of her sermons in notebooks. And unexpectedly, she ended up having dementia. And within 2 years, she died. I didn't want to have my words to never be released. I wanted my stamp in history. So I started sharing. I started asking people, who could I talk to in regards to helping me so that I would come out of my shell? People said, Shell, you're laughable, you have a personality, just let it be. So what I did is I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. There was many nights that I cried, there were many nights that I laughed, because I let all the experiences come to paper. What impacted me in regards to 9/11, I wrote a poem called What If. I went to go see Precious, and it made me think of a childhood experience where I was molested. And I wrote, I was only a child. I wrote about, if anything, what it was to feel, to have no room at the end. I wrote about Through the Fire. I had to forgive people who had hurt me so that I could move forward. It ended up being a blessing. When I decided to write the title of my book, Through the Fire, it just came to me because I felt that even though I had gone through some storms, I felt like I was a diamond in the rough. And when you apply the fire to the diamond, it only becomes pure. So I appreciate all the trials and tribulations, the hurt, the grief, because it made me stronger. It made me be the person who I am today. I now know that I'm not going to settle for Mr. Right for now, but I'm looking for the Mr. Right. I also realized that with this, there was a lot that was going on in my life, and I had to get balance. I had to have it so that all the writing was going to come out, and people were going to experience what I experienced. Some were going to see something in themselves in my writing. It was going to become bigger than me. And that's how I came to write Through the Fire. Time She's gone. Gone from the body, but present with the Lord. I'm sorry to tell you, but she's leaving you in 2 days. What? I'm sorry. Wait a minute. She hasn't seen me get married. She hasn't seen me have a baby. Oh, what? She lived a good life. What? I'm sorry. She'll be comfortable. What? Oh, no. Mommy, you can't leave me. I'll sing your favorite song. Mommy, look at me. Look at me, Mom. Stop looking at the ceiling. Mommy, look at me. Why are you reaching your arms up? Mommy, I need you. I need you. I'm sorry. Mommy, we're all here. Mommy, we love you. Her pressure's dropping. No. Mommy, stay with me. Don't leave me. Mommy, don't leave me. Stay with me. Her pressure's dropping. Nurse. What is that sound? What is that sound? I'm sorry. I need you to step out. Code blue. Mommy, no, don't go. No, stay. Mommy, I need you. Clear. Time. December 30th, 2006, 7:30 a.m. She's gone. Mommy, I love you. So, as you are able to see, what I ended up finding with riding through the fire was me. I was able to go through those trials and tribulations and look at the storms that I had to go through. I remembered that there was a time where I questioned God in regards to why me. And in it, I found out, why not me?